don't...
The show about a bunch of sandy buttholes.
Yes. Yeah, no, very much. God, oh man, I have a lot to process.
Yeah.
So, Desert Punk is... Well, okay. Like,
it's not that deep.
It's not, and yet I think there's more going on than... Not in terms of, like, the writing, like, the... My problem is that, like, I'm left with a feeling of, like... The show's actually good.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's competent, it's consistent. In certain ways I wish it wasn't, but, like, characters are... Yeah, no, like... I'm struggling, because, like, I'm still processing things. But, like, there are twists and turns in this show. Ew. Gross. Sorry. I had hair in my mouth.
Ew.
I still do. God damn it.
Ew.
Yeah, it's a bad time. But characters are consistent, and they act consistently, and in all the twists and turns, people are still acting the way that they should. And, like, even at the end, when the big twist happens, everything makes sense. Everyone's where they should be. And I kind of love how it's a certain passing of the torch to Kasuna, who I think is great.
So you think we should probably, like, give some, like,
yeah,
plot and characters before we go into this, or?
Yeah, so the show starts with a family getting mugged and a girl who complains that she's hungry. Don't worry, this will continue.
That's her character.
That is just what she does. And they're getting assaulted by some punks with, like, dots on their foreheads.
But not the desert punk.
No, the desert punk shows up. He wears a literal chrome dome with, like, a gas mask front. And, like, I don't know how to describe the hat. It's
like a sun hat. It's got, like, a...
It's very Japanese.
Yeah, it's just, like, a cone with, like, a towel behind it.
Yeah, and he's dressed like anyone living in the desert should be dressed. And he always uses a goddamn pump-action shotgun. Because it was his dad's. And after saving these people, he's like, well, you owe me. Pay up. Basically robs these people.
Yeah, all three of their lives were saved for like $60,000 each.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic deal.
Fair enough. And here we get introduced to the fact that our resident title-bearing main character is morally bankrupt.
That's a nice way of putting it.
That's probably actually the most accurate way I can put it. He has no morals. He doesn't really help people other than himself unless it benefits him.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you do in the desert.
He basically is motivated by his dick and his greed. Sometimes both.
At the same time.
Yep. He bumps into a lady and she tricks him into...
She tricks him by being half naked. Look, the first episode's called The Demon and the Double D's.
Yes.
We're not getting around that one.
Yeah, and
So he's been hired to go get this key back from this gang.
Mm-hmm.
And basically he shoots up the gang. The boss has this thing called Hulk syndrome, which is exactly what it sounds like on the tin. He turns into a big man when he gets mad.
Yep.
And well, he's big and dumb now. So Desert Punk gets the key. He goes back to the girl, and she's like, "Wow, that was pretty amazing." And then she like blows up this bomb behind him and just takes the key from him. Like, "Yeah, you couldn't have planned for that one. By the way, I work here now. I'm your rival."
Yep.
And so most of the series is him getting into situations, and then him just 4D chessing out.
He's surprisingly intelligent, but at the same time I can't shake the feeling that some of his intelligence is kind of contrived and very clearly just whoever's writing him just that they already know the twists and turns, so they can just write in that he's figured it out, rather than feeling like a lot of his intelligence just kind of comes out of left field when it feels like most of the time he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, he's an idiot who knows how to exploit people and tanks.
Yes.
Like the time he gets it. So there's this big tank called the Fire Dragon Kong. Undefeatable.
Clearly.
And it's a hover tank.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he's like, "Look, we can't fight this thing in the open. Like, that's just not gonna work." So what he does is he lures it down a canyon and then drops some rocks on it. Because he somehow figured out, the armor on the top's pretty weak, comparatively.
Yeah, it wasn't designed to take attacks from the top, which might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard for a tank design, most likely in an age that had air power.
It's fine.
It's really not. But regardless, in that whole escapade, we learned his revenge boner is nearly as big as his actual boner. In terms of comparative drive. And don't worry, we find out just how strong his actual boner is a lot later when he defeats a ghost with it.
But yeah, no,
God, I wish I was kidding.
It's a whole bunch of like short arcs that all kind of come together for a big arc.
It surprisingly flows well. It usually get about 3 or 4 episodes dedicated to an encapsulated story, and then when those wrap up, we move on to another one, and it doesn't feel like, the weirdest part is that some of them don't feel interconnected and then become interconnected as they go.
Yeah, like the one part where he goes to the lost ruins or whatever, and they find a robot man. They find a robot guardian, and then the dude who hired him just kind of pieces out for half the season.
Yeah, and then becomes completely central to the plot.
Yeah, like at the back half of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't gonna lie, when it was very clear it's like he's coming back, I was like, he's coming back. Because Desert Punk has a habit of like, just, it fulfills on its promises. It doesn't make very many of them, but it fulfills on them. And although I do think we need to discuss the real hero of Desert Punk.
Ah, yes, the illustrious Rain Spider.
Oh my God, he.
So we first see him in episode 2,
yes,
when he and Desert Punk are going after the same mark. And they get into a fight, and you're thinking, oh man, these two guys who are talked up to be the best characters, or the best people in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just normal idiots.
They both cower behind a small rock and exchange gunfire, grenades, fists,
Rubber bands. But the best part is, like, before this fight starts, like, they get a crowd of onlookers, and they're like, they're gonna tear the town apart. And then as soon as the fighting starts, we're like, this is boring.
This is garbage.
We see this every day.
What's so special about this? Because the Elder comes out and does, like, a rock solo about each of them.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah, I know, it's great.
Yeah, and little did I know, Rain Spider was, gonna keep coming back.
Yeah, he kind of pieces out after the second episode. He doesn't come back until,
really far in.
Is it the Curse Rock? Is that when he comes back?
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, he comes back, and he's like, I'm gonna take the... So, okay. There's this businessman who wants to build a road.
Yep.
There's a rock that's been there for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to go exactly where that rock is. It's cursed.
Yes.
Anybody who's tried to move it dies or gets hurt.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if they're near it or not. Like, if they show any kind of intention of, like, removing it, bad luck is on them.
Mm-hmm.
So he shows up there to steal the mark and pops a boner. And passes out.
Don't worry, there's relevance for this. Which, let me tell you, it didn't feel relevant at all when I saw it. Yeah, so then Desert Punk gets pulled into a dream sequence with
the dog woman.
A
lady in a dog costume.
Who was trying to kill him.
And what is Desert Punk trying to do? Bang.
And apparently does it so well that the rock just fucking explodes. Desert Punk defeated a curse because the boner was too strong.
Look. You even get this nice scene of, like, the two spirits fighting it out.
Yeah, his libido versus the dark spirit of the rock.
And it's super dramatic. And it just turns into this huge fucking storm.
Yeah.
And, and then the rock just fucking explodes, because even the dog lady's like, nope.
Can't do it. Can't defeat him.
Then we kind of lose Rain Spider again for a while. He comes back to show off his new gun that he's got. Yeah, he just bursts through the door of the gun shop.
Oh right, yeah, no, I forgot. He just like cross chops through the door, and then the gun store owner's like, "You're paying for the door." He's like, "Right, yep," and then leaps, flies even into the air. And sprints across buildings, cackling like a hyena.
And then he comes back to thwart Desert Punk as he's guarding a tanker full of shit across the desert.
Yep.
And Desert Punk's like, do you even know what's in there? He's like, is it not shit? and Desert Punk, he's just like, you knew.
I mean, alright, yeah.
And so this is where he kind of picks up his new, Rain Spider picks up his new strat of just kind of like bailing.
He has the fastest run speed.
He gets tied up and he gets questioned by Punk. And then something leads to another and he's just like, I'm out.
Yep.
And he just runs straight at the camera cackling.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic.
You said it was on par with the Destroyers.
The oxygen destroyers just like running across the screen as bridges explode. Like, it was fucking great. Yeah, so this just becomes his MO, and then he becomes part of the resistance team later on. They kind of talk about the government a bit. Government's a bunch of dicks, blah blah blah. There's a resistance movement, and Desert Punk figures out that he basically got recruited for them, and then tries to use the situation to bail, and dies.
Yeah,
I'm using quotes.
Just gets impaled. Because he's like, they're in like tunnels, and he's like, they're not just gonna come from the front; they're also gonna come from the back.
Yeah,
and this is him thinking, they're not coming from the back. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna use this opportunity to get out.
And guess what? They came from the back.
And then stab him in the torso, and then yeah, and then we get to follow his apprentice, who we haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah, we kind of should do that. I think it was like episode 4 or 5. He fights a sniper.
Yeah,
then he just abducts the child.
Well, no,
more or less.
No, the child is following this guy, and he's like, I gotta take out Desert Punk so I can be the best, whatever.
So I can make a name for myself.
And then Desert Punk basically is like, you're a fucking idiot. The Dragonov is a piece of shit. This was barely worth my time. And then strips him and leaves him out in the desert. And so the girl who was following this guy around, Kasuna, starts following.
Desert Punk.
Yeah, Desert Punk. I was trying to think about his name. It's Kanta, something like that. And so Desert Punk reluctantly picks up an apprentice after she explains her genetics.
Also that she can get a certain stain out of his pants.
Yes. She disappears for a couple episodes and then reappears.
Yeah.
And he finally starts using her to do jobs while he sits on his ass.
And oh boy, does that go wrong.
Oh, man.
Not only does it more or less bankrupt him, it also destroys his reputation.
Completely. And, but eventually she has her kind of coming of age moment where she's like, I want a big gun. He's like, oh, fuck it. And the gun store owner makes her dig some holes.
So that's just what you do.
And once she proves that she can dig a hole, he's like, here's a 308 rifle. And she fucking nails targets with it. And they're both like, holy shit. And then she has the wisdom to be like, man, this thing's heavy. I'd be fucking pathetic if I had lugged this thing around with me. And she gets newsy. And that becomes her weapon. Because originally she was just using a pistol.
Yeah.
So... and then she's basically just a supporting character for most of it. She gets her own chrome dome helmet. But it just has like a circle where the mouth would be instead of a gas filter. And then after Kanta dies, again in quotes, she basically inherits his standing and is honestly a much more decent human being. Not by a ton.
Especially not to her apprentice.
Yeah, she's not a sex pest and doesn't have scenes that last literal minutes talking about a girl's boobs.
Yeah, no.
It just went on with a little chibi Desert Punk crawling around this girl's boobs, talking about them for an uncomfortable amount of time.
It was like 2 minutes long. It was ridiculous.
Kanta's a piece of shit. Anyway.
Wait, hang on. Before we move on with that, there's a part where he finds kids in the desert.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, we can't help them. Then they get to a town, and then Kasuna's like, I know what you're doing. You're going back for the kids. You're going to help them. He's like, yeah, I'm going to sell them.
Yeah.
Think of the money I can make.
Yeah.
And then he finds Fifth the North Star.
Yeah, basically fucking Kenshiro.
And he's like, I'm gonna sell that guy too.
Hell yeah. And it turns out the kids are professional robbers.
And Fist of the North Star is actually a pretty decent fighter.
Yeah, he was trained by the government.
Yeah.
He's our introduction to the government, which is weird. But anyway, he's a fucking moron who he's a complete idealist to the point where it kind of
becomes a joke.
it is a joke almost from the get-go. And he's just a protagonist from a different anime just dropped into this world.
Yeah, from Fist of the North Star.
Yeah. And he ends up part of the resistance because of course he does.
Almost all of the named characters come back to become the resistance.
And yet it doesn't feel inconsistent, which is the weird part.
But yeah, so anyway, Kasuna takes over the show for like the last 4 episodes.
It's not bad. I liked it. She's not Kanta, and you can really feel it in the way that she goes about things. It's just a different feel where she's like, oh, I'll cover Kanta's debts or whatever, and she has to deal with everyone talking shit about him, not remembering that he was a complete piece of shit. But don't worry, we'll get complete confirmation of that because she got her own winch from the guy who Kanta always used.
Yeah, the father of 6 tingles.
Yes. Fucking tingles. And
so he's like, yeah, by the way, there was like some guy who came in, he bought a winch, kind of the same one that Conti used. I'll tell you about it later.
yeah.
And later doesn't happen.
No, because she comes back and his shop is completely on fire, along with his entire family. And apparently 3 of the Tingles survived, only to be sold into slavery. And that kind of fucks her up for a bit. Although she doesn't really let it get to her too much. It's just in the back of her mind. And it's important because, unfortunately, as the Machine Gun Brothers and Casino...
we haven't even explained the Machine Gun Brothers yet.
Oh, Jesus.
There was a lot of characters in this show.
Well, and the weird part is that it's not that there were a lot of characters, it's that there were a relatively reasonable number of characters who were in everything. So the Machine Gun Brothers were all friends with Kanta growing up. And
friends being, in quotes.
Yes, they basically got bullied into following his bullshit. And
their sister paid the price for that.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Kanta was just a shitty kid as well.
Yeah. Got it. Ugh. Anyway. Machine Gun Brothers are just rival mercenaries. They use machine guns. Who would have thought? They're kind of not great at what they do.
No.
They kind of exist to be a joke.
2 of them are idiots.
Oh,
one guy
very
started
much.
losing lines at the end and he started making noises.
Dude, the dub died in like the last 8 episodes. Like literally the set that we watched.
Yeah, it was great.
It was.
They
they started speaking Spanish for no reason.
They just stopped caring.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, so Kanta dreams in Spanish.
Yeah, for reasons.
He doesn't even know.
Yeah, and characters just started speaking lines that just don't make sense.
But yeah, so, crap, where were we?
Machine Gun Brothers.
Well, yeah, but like, why are we talking about them? Like, because...
Because
they're all part of this group that's going to a hole in the ground.
Yeah, because we need to talk... Yeah, because I set up the whole bit, and they're going to a crater that, where they're making robots, but the government is coming to stop them with its own robots, and a secret master. God, I wonder who it could be.
It was Mewtwo.
Who could shoot things from an incredible range, just like Kanta, and said certain things that was very similar to Kanta, and trained these robots to fight and think like a certain person, like Kanta. Anyway, to no one's surprise ever, it turns out to be Desert Punk.
Yeah, can't kill him. He's a cockroach.
God damn. And yeah, he's become the villain he was always meant to be. And when Kasuna confronts him about killing the winch shop owner, he's like, yeah, I couldn't really let people know I was alive.
If it makes you feel better, I almost felt bad.
I thought about feeling bad about it, is his literal line. And yeah, he's a perfect villain, and it makes perfect sense why he would change sides, because that's just the type of piece of shit that he is. We're talking about a man who tried to trek across the incredible expanse of nothing desert just to get revenge on a town that kicked him out for being a complete piece of shit.
To be fair, he didn't plan on blowing up the well or whatever. He only pretended he put poison in the well. Or in the bucket.
To fuck him up. But, yeah, to be honest, he acted like garbage anyway.
No, he was awful.
No,
he drank an entire, week's worth of water in, a day.
Yeah, no, it was fucking...
And he did it in front of all of the people.
It was ridiculous. And there are certain times where it seems like he's being a genius, and it turns out he's just gotten lucky, or it's like, oh, he just acted like a piece of shit. No, he is a piece of shit. That's just him being a piece of shit. It just so happened that it helped in this situation, which I kind of adored the, irresponsible Captain Tyler moments where it's like, is he fucking brilliant? And it's like, he's very smart.
He knows how to set up balloons and dig holes.
Yeah, and also he can read people really well, and he understands tactics very well. But
unless you put boobs in front of him, then he just then he just crumbles.
No, and then just the boner gets in the way, and it's a bad time. Do we even need to get into him trapping Junko?
No.
Good.
No, we're not talking about that episode. That episode is awful.
Girl,
you know, now we're gonna have to talk about it because you're laughing.
It's only because there are two instances that are just like.
Is it the part where he's hiding in the walls, jerking it?
Yes.
And you hear the splash, and it's awful.
So bad. We haven't even been introduced to Shuko his past. We mentioned a lady who tricked him, and then I don't think we really.
No, that's her character though. She's a lady who tricks him constantly, always.
Because she has big boobs, and yeah,
she pulls a traitor on him, and then she gets put in custody of him. Yes. And he locks her in his secret base for 10 days, and he hides in the walls for 3 of those days.
Yeah, and then gets trapped with her, can't remember the passcode to get out, and fights her to be able to do it with her, and finally signs a contract that dissolves her of all of her wrongdoings, and then gets rescued by Kasuna.
And the Machine Gun Brothers.
Because of course the Machine Gun Brothers.
But yeah, no, so
anyway, Junko's not that important. She exists for fan service, and it's kind of awful.
I mean, you get the camera always placed in the right spot.
It's either on her boobs or on her ass, and
always.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, that's all the major characters that I can think of
that are worth talking about that I feel like got enough lip service.
Yeah, I think that's all of them.
We didn't really touch on the sister, but she's kind of barely a character.
She's there to drive the Machine Gun Brothers to be doing things.
Pretty much. And we did talk about the old man who found the game Life on a hard drive and made himself like a...
We probably should talk about him a little bit.
He's kind of important.
He's really important in like the last 6 episodes.
He tries to convince Kanta to join the rebels by offering his company. And apparently that still wasn't enough, because Kanta's still trying to escape. But,
Well, yeah, because he's seeing through that guy's bullshit. He wants to just take over the desert.
yeah.
He's selling everybody a false lie on this whole rebel thing. It's just he wants more money.
Yeah.
Theoretically, that's at least what Kanta says.
I mean, but to be fair, that's only because he and Kanta are basically the same person.
Yeah. So anyway, we've been here for half an hour now.
I mean, yeah, the thing is that Desert Punk it's simple, and in its simplicity, it's kind of brilliant. I'm not saying it's like high art.
No.
No. God, it is not. But it's much more competent. Like, my feelings of it, having finished it, I'm like, oh, this was good. This was a good anime. And I find it kind of criminal how completely unpopular it is.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because no one talks about it. But anyway.
It's like almost 20 years old. Nobody cares about things that are 20 years old at this point.
But even like... No, because okay. I'm not a high mark for me, but it's very easy to tell how popular something is by searching for fan art of it. And I will tell you that Desert Punk has less fan art than Bento.
Well, Bento had like 9 different like books.
But still, my point remains. Desert Punk is not that popular, and I find that kind of criminal given that it's actually kind of a good anime.
Did you check under Desert Punk, or did you check under the Japanese name?
If it's one or the other in these cases. Where I was looking, it's one or the other. Anyway, my point being, it's criminally unpopular. But regardless, let's move on.
I can't believe you threw yourself under the bus like that.
Yeah, well, it needed to be said, because I do actually search these sites just on a whim to be like, how popular is this thing? Because it's a good judge!
Yeah, okay, let's give it some numbers.
Out of, anyway.
You want me to edit any of this out?
No. I deserve it. But I did legitimately look at these things, and I'm like, it's usually a pretty good judge of like, okay, how many results does this have? Alright. That actually is more popular than the other thing. Anyway, alright, let's move on. Plot. It has a plot. It has a decent plot. That actually...
It flows together, and it doesn't, like, stall too long. Like, it's just like...
I made the comment that, like, Desert Punk basically doesn't have filler.
I think, yeah, there's, like, 2 filler episodes, at least, that I'd call.
Well, but...
And that's being, the awful 10 days in the bunker.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then the episode where he, has to go rescue a child who was kidnapped.
Oh, yeah.
Like, those are the only 2 filler episodes, but, like, things happen. Well, okay. Nothing happens in the bunker episode. You don't have to watch that one.
Yeah.
But at least with the kidnapping episode, things happen.
Yeah. 3 or 4.
Let's give it a 4. We don't give a lot of force out.
Alright. Characters. There are characters. They are consistent. I would not say that, like, the weakest characters are probably the Machine Gun Brothers and the sister. But that's just...
The Machine Gun family.
They're kind of weak, but at the same time, it's like, I don't groan when they show up. Like, nobody sucked.
Except for Kanta. Kanta sucks. But not as a...
But he's hateable. But that doesn't make him a bad character. He is very fleshed out.
But he's a bad person.
He's a horrible person.
Give that a 3 or a 4. I don't know.
I'm gonna hit it with a 4. I think it was good.
Animation.
Characters. I'm not gonna lie. This show gets fucking lazy at points.
Yeah, so here's the big deal about this show. Most of the characters are always wearing a mask.
Yeah.
You don't have to animate their faces anymore.
Nope, not at all. There are interesting technical tech things, but it's like, you know, I literally describe it as a chrome dome. I'm not kidding. It is a featureless metal sheen dome of a helmet.
And then we get some parts where they unmask character, but then they're just like peeking out from over like a rock, so they don't have to animate the mouth.
No, yeah.
They just have to draw the face.
And at one point, a man describes how he wants to get into ventriloquism. He's staring at his blank face, non-moving mouth, and he goes, I have a dream, or some shit.
It comes out of nowhere, and it's just gone.
It's so fucking dumb. Yeah. Not this.
At best, I'd give it a 3. I'd probably say a 2, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit it with a 2. Genre strength. I don't know exactly what genre this is going for. I know it's definitely comedy most of the time, but then it starts leaning into, like, dark, gritty, semi-political bullshit.
I remember reading a thing, and it's like the first 12 episodes were written to be funny, and then it was supposed to get serious after that, so, like, I don't know what you want to call it. It's an action thing. Oh god, they put the dog woman on the back of the box.
Oh, wonderful. That's the part we all want to go back to. That shit was all basically filler, too.
Yeah, it kind of was. But hey, we got a Rain Spider to come back.
Yeah, Rain Spider is great.
So,
It's like an action comedy. Like, it is funny, and then some of its humor is just gross.
Yeah. I say give it a 3.
Alright.
The fights are at least interesting sometimes.
Yeah. No.
Most of the time.
It's not bad. The dub.
Solid. 1.
Surprisingly solid. Special mention.
Oh, everybody, well, I mean, they don't know, but, like, we know.
Oh, yeah. No.
It's the knock-knock joke from that one episode where on the when they're on the shit freighter.
Oh, I was gonna give it just... I wasn't gonna give it to that.
No, I
actually
know you weren't.
forgot about that. But that is the best knock-knock joke of all time. Because you don't see it coming. Fucking Kasuna is crawling around on a shit tanker, and it's like a sandstorm or some shit, so she can't see it.
Smoke grenades.
Smoke grenades. Okay. She bumps into a wall?
She's like, who put this wall here?
Knock, knock. She literally knocks on it, goes knock, knock, and then the guy behind it moves and goes, who's there?
And they just stare at each other for like 5 seconds.
Oh my god. We both lost it, because it was... And I literally declared it the greatest knock-knock joke of all time, because it came out of nowhere. And just, all you had to do was just knock, knock, who's there? And they're just staring at each other. Anyway, no, that is not the special mention.
Yeah, it's obviously Rain Spider.
It is obviously Rain Spider.
+2.
Always complete. No, like, why would I give it any less? Rain Spider is the greatest. I don't know how you constantly are just like, this is the greatest character. And then I watch it and I'm like, you're right. This is the greatest character of this show. It's happened multiple times. Anyway, what's the total? We're looking at 15, 16.
Wow, that's a lot higher than I thought it was going to be.
It's better than average.
Woo!
It is below Suddenly Egyptian Gods, Luluco. Luluco, I think, is our highest.
Yeah, Luluco got extra points or something.
Yeah, I got 21. Kaguya had a 20. So, yeah, it's, I think, 4th now?
Sounds like it.
The Suddenly Egyptian Gods was a great time. Anyway, thanks for joining us for Desert Punk.
We'll see you again for something else.
Yep.
Bye.